to Dovecraft Country, the podcast hosted by Black Chanel, DKA The Guru, DKA DKA Red Panther, DKA my special sister, and myself, the host, Goddess Love Jones, DKA X Factor, DKA Bad and Bougie.
Yes.
Where two divas talk about the HBO series Lovecraft Country.
Lit. Hey, Love Jones, how you feeling today?
I am hot.
Oh yeah, your ears not on.
Solution for turning my AC off so that we can have this clear audio. But on the other hand, I am well rested because I slept today
and napped.
Yeah,
love that for you. You can try like the headphones or the AirPods? No.
Well, I don't have AirPods, but we're not sponsored. No, just kidding.
Hello, yeah.
I have both, but
I'll take either sponsorship only because I feel like that might help. But
both we're out there.
Yes, Bose, Apple, anyone. We'll take the sponsorship money. We are cheap. We are really cheap. Yes.
About that life if you want to be. But yeah.
Sounds pretty good. Oh wow, you sound good.
Oh, good. Interesting. Well, anyway. We'll try this.
Well, anyway, yeah. Okay, you're doing good. That's great. We're here for episode 2 of Lovecraft Country. How exciting. Okay.
Exciting, very exciting.
We're blazing through this because we have yet to watch episode 3 because we wanted to keep ourselves, we don't want to know things. Yeah, because you'll definitely say things or drop hints if you know what's coming. And so if you haven't watched this, it's a great podcast to listen to as you watch. And if you have watched it, then you can listen and disagree with us, which is great. And eventually we'll make social media maybe, and you can let us know how wrong we are. Okay, great. So real quick,
yes.
Love Jones, do you want to just give us a real quick episode 1 recap? What did we learn in episode 1?
So in episode 1, we revisited a lot of our racist American history and experience. Yeah. But what we really did, we kind of set the scene. We learned about the different characters that will be on this road trip. And we learned about legacy. We learned about the birthright actually, we didn't. That's coming up.
It mentioned in the book, yeah. In the
letter. Yes. It was in a letter. Okay, so we learned that Atticus Freeman has a birthright to some mysterious kind of fantastical historical
something
history. And there might be a tie to his ancestry. Then we found that we did find racist police, just like today. They were chasing them. There was no reason. They were run out of a diner. Then they get into the woods. They think, they're just running from the police at sundown, but we find out there's actually monsters.
And the monsters are
real
sundown,
deal,
sunup. Yep.
Right, real deal. Sundown to sunup, it's either the white man or the actual vampire Dracula monsters that eat people. So that's awkward. And yeah, I mean, they end up in a mansion and a white man comes to the door and said, "We've been expecting you." And that could never be good.
Ever. Because you didn't call ahead. You did not.
Yeah, they did not know where they were going. They turned up randomly in the woods at a random mansion castle in a clearing. How could they have made their way without their map? And the white man said, "Hey,
we're here." Yeah, perfect. You made it.
You made it through the monsters and the woods and the sheriff.
And I'm gonna act like nothing happened.
Yeah, we were expecting you still. After all that, we still thought you would make it. So that was weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this episode 2 is called Whitey's on the Moon, or Whitey ''S, so Whitey is on the moon. Yeah. And the significance of this is something that really drove home the art for me. So I wanted to make sure to make note of the music in this episode. There was also a lot of visual, like graphic art, like paintings that I do not know. And I was like, I'm absolutely not going to look up any white people paintings, but I kind of took note of them because I felt like, when you think about directing, like the director should make everything purposeful in a show like this. I believe it is. So every time they showed a picture, I like took note of that and what have you. So, can jump right into it. And so ending, one thing that I thought of in the beginning with a recap that you just went through was the fact that the monsters were called away when they were in the darkness.
Yes.
And I literally was thinking, like, is that a dog whistle? So they refer to the monsters and like as their pets or dogs throughout this episode. And I was thinking about the literal dog whistle, like this idea that, racism will be said to you or done in ways that are triggering, but not clear. And so that's like a dog whistle, like ways to make people feel bad. And so that theme of a dog whistle or white people dog whistling these three Black folks is something that is going to come up. And so the first scene, we open on something that made me laugh out loud, which is Uncle George bursting out into the sunshine, and we hear "Moving On Up," the Jeffersons theme, and him and Letty are just into it. Yes, him and Letty are living life because they have literally everything they want. So he has all the books he wants from like a floor to ceiling bookshelf, and then Letty has all the beauty she wants. She has like all these outfits that fit her beautifully. And I looked up this song because I just was like, I actually don't know who sings this song, and I believe it's this woman named Ja'Net Dubois. And when I looked it up, there also was a gospel version of it, and apparently the full version of that is "Moving On Up to Meet Jesus." And when you think about it, that's actually what the song is about. To a deluxe apartment in the sky, she literally means heaven. And so I was crying. Huh. Right, I was crying because in all the decades I never thought of that. But then I also thought about the fact that like the Saint Lunatics and Nelly remixed that song and made a rap song to it. So that's my favorite version.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and so I didn't realize that I enjoyed seeing
East Side.
Yes, right. Like, wait, East Side of Heaven? Like, what's on the West Side? And I don't know. But what I didn't realize until I watched it the second time is, why aren't Uncle George and Letty tripping? Like, are they that hard up as Black folks in America that a bath and some books will make them forget that they got attacked by monsters? Like, I did not. I was like, I don't know how much time has passed. I really just assumed in that moment it's been 2 weeks. They're happy. Everything's good. So what were you thinking in that first scene?
I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. I at first didn't question it because I was just still trying to like just take it in, just be like, okay, it's the show. This is what's happening, like whatever. But then for a second, I was just like, okay, so like they do have to be like, hey, wait, okay, this isn't a dream. This is real life. Wait, who'd I come with? Wait, hold on, where they at? Like I'm in a room by myself, like, and then start questioning stuff. But I would have definitely taken a look, even if I was like scared. I would have taken a look in the closets and whatnot. So
yeah, well,
and then I probably get enamored by, oh my God, is that fur? Oh my God,
no, for
is
sure,
that my favorite book?
No, for sure. So, I think that we've seen so many fantasy in this day and age that I think we really forget how actually fucked up we would be if any of that stuff happened in real life, because we've seen like so many monsters. Yes, we've seen so many monsters on the TV, but like if you dead ass saw a monster with 100 eyes on its back in real life, you would be like, who the fuck can I tell this to? No one's gonna believe me. Like we would still be like, tripping over it. So when again, like I watched this twice, and so the second time everything made more sense to me, like as in Tick's behavior, because I was like, why is Tick so aggy? But I'm like, bitch, because he saw monsters kill people last night. After going through them, like, yes, exactly. So after seeing Uncle George and Letitia enjoy themselves, we go to Tick, and he's quiet, and he's sitting there, he's mad as fuck, he's fuming, and then we hear an alarm go off. So I'm just wondering, like, they're the only ones who are alarmed. So the graphic there, I'm going to change my background to them in the hallway. So we see this scene of them. Which one is it? Oh, I don't think I have it. Let me pull it up. We see the scene more than once of them in the hallway, and them and them like just convening as the three of them. So, and I think, this is a different scene, but it's still like it happens like that where they rush out and they're like, "Do y'all hear this alarm? Like, what's happening? Why is this? What's going on?" And then we see Malfoy, whose real name is Wood. But I refer to him as Malfoy because I can't remember his name. And so he come in like, "Hey." And I'm just like,
we really don't have too many. Well, maybe there are a lot of blonde-haired white characters in life, but it seems very fantastical. When I mean,
the slick back hair, like he's going for a look, like he's going for a Master of the Manor type shit, which Lucius Malfoy was doing. Which also, Lucius,
you couldn't trust him.
No, I was gonna say Lucius from what's the
show
called? Empire. Also went for the same.
Please.
He went for the same look when you really think about it, man. He slicked his hair back and had them them evening coats. Okay, sorry.
He did, and the ascots. He was.
Yeah, so I'm saying the same nigga. All three of these are the same. Anyway, sorry. Okay, so then he comes out and one thing I noticed is he heard everything they were saying. Like he was like, "Oh, don't be alarmed," and it's like he's answering their question that they didn't ask him. So I definitely was like, okay.
He's waiting for them. He's been waiting.
He's waiting for them, right? Exactly.
He's got his answers ready, preloaded.
Right. So then here comes some art, and it's like, okay, so here's how I described it. One of the paintings was like white women reaching out to each other, just like naked bodies, or naked people in a storm, like just that weird like older area, like Sistine Chapel style art where it's just like naked white people in a cloud. I'm just like, what is the significance? Going back to humanities class. Yeah. What the fuck? Anyway, I just really love a Black-centered reality where we can call out all the white shit that they said was cool and be like, it's not entertaining.
There's nothing special.
It don't move me. Thank you. Okay. So I just.
Is there anything else in this museum?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, dead at you being aloof. Like, where's Jay-Z? Y'all don't have no picture of that, at least a photograph?
That part.
Yeah. But no, so basically all the art is like pasty white angels. So then it just seemed like they got some information last night because he's like, so basically I'm gonna recap what he tells them. He tells them that they're currently in Samuel Braithwaite's summer home, who is obviously related to Christina, who's the woman with the silver car. So we know that so far. But it ain't got no phone because it was his summer home, which makes zero. When I tell you that makes zero sense, you still need a phone if you're in business. He had business with Tick's father, and which also is like, what we want with Montrose. And Tick keeps asking, insisting, like, where's my dad? What hotel is he at? Where is he at in Boston? Like, there's just this continual delaying of Tick to say, no, I don't know. But if you the only way you'll find your dad is if you wait. So they show this painting of Titus Braithwaite, who is more recent, I think. I think he's the one that's currently. It's either Samuel or Titus. It don't matter. One of these white men.
No, Titus is dead. I think he was the original owner when they rebuilt it.
Yes, so he was the and then the way that we know what era that was is because he had like this basically they show this big portrait of him like over the mantle, and he has this outfit that looks so Klan-like. It looks like Klan and secret societies and a baby because it's a dark hood he has on, like they zoom in on like this ring he has on. He has all this like regalia, and then they ask him, well, what was his business, how did he make money, and he said shipping, and Letitia, who I love, goes, that's code for slaves, bitch. Like that nigga owns slaves. And it's
Keep
like,
it real.
duh. And then just a reminder that
shipping.
Yes, Massachusetts, where we think of it as like this liberal place, owns slaves too.
And they had heliports.
It was a heliports. That should be the episode of the name of this episode, heliports. And he was called notoriously kind, which I think white people wanted to think. Right, white people wanted to think that means he didn't whip, which means he just let his wife whip people. But what that really probably means is that nigga was having kids, which is what kindness was, right?
He had a sweet tooth for some slaves.
Yeah. dead. Like allowing you to become light is notoriously kind, right? So I don't know why I just wrote this down. I feel like this show is making me paranoid that every detail will have significance. So I wrote down that there was a great fire during the autumnal equinox in 1833. I feel like we looked that up. Some shit happened in the universe at that time, and everyone died. But then Malfoy says, "Wait, one person didn't die," and we're like, okay, nigga, you're not gonna say who. So then he takes him out for lunch. They ask him a couple clarifying things. How do you know them? And he's like, oh, I'm just a friend of the family. But I don't know. Did you notice he was staring at Letitia's booty?
No.
He was definitely staring at her. If you look at it, he looked at her like a snack. And I'm like, confused. Confused. And then they're saying they want
Christina would not like that. Or Christina would like that.
I think she get the cash and dip and never give the head. I think that's what Letitia.
Right. Get that bread. Get that head, family.
But she so do you want to say about how they figure out that they're not on the same page as they're sitting there eating lunch?
Yeah, because they go out to eat, and again, it's just like, we've been expecting you, we've made you food, we're ready, like we're here for guests, we're here to entertain you, and
people might be coming over later.
Outdoors eating, but like take your time for now, but we'll be back. And Tick is like,
the fuck,
my nigga, y'all good? Like,
yeah, like what? Yeah, like he's talking to Uncle George and Buddy, like we about to eat. Yeah,
we have to talk. Y'all
you
not
need to
hungry.
sit down comfortable.
Y'all not triggered. Y'all not. There's no trauma. Like, what's going on? They like, nah, this food not good. Like, what you
right.
Like,
so, and then I wrote it down because I was like, oh, this really is some bullshit. Because he was like, y'all don't know what happened last night. And then he's like, y'all didn't hear. So he says, how can y'all eat with what happened last night? And because I don't remember. And that's
interesting that they know they don't remember.
It's hilarious seeing their faces being like, huh. Like you see them thinking like
silly. It was silly because I was kind of like, they could have just been like, wait, where are we? Like they never got to the point of like, oh, like, okay, we definitely were driving, and then
yeah, I mean, it seems like it's not like a blackout. It seems like it's something where they're comfortable with what they missed. Like it's almost like I ended my night early versus last thing I remember was, it seemed like they just were like, oh, we're just at this house and we're, but I mean, even that, I feel like maybe I'm definitely thinking too much, but like, that's what racism does to us. Like, we should always be running around with our heads off, like, what the fuck, racism, people are killing us, but we get,
and we're like, oh, Versus is on.
Listen. So I'm like, there's really a lot of metaphors.
I know we're boycotting white companies, but we're gonna watch Versus on Instagram tonight.
Or like like the Bath and Body Works got a sale, like just dumb shit like that. That's an insider.
If I hear that company one more time,
yeah, it's a wrap for Bath and Body Works. But niggas want to be comfortable. So, but it's exactly like you said, like they don't even recognize like, oh shit, I have a gap. They're like, wait, I should remember, but I kind of don't. IDK. And so, but I just love this that he said, y'all didn't see, and then we had the monsters and then they went away with the whistle. And Letitia's like, a dog whistle? And that's when I said, ooh, dog whistle, like that phrase. And then he was like, yeah. And then I shut the shit. She said, you shut the shit up. Like she was like, what the fuck? And
whoa, you said that out loud. White man's home.
I was cracking up. And then and then this part, so Uncle George goes, oh, we're being watched. And he starts moving his cutlery, like he starts acting.
That is the part when like they've been taught how to act around.
Listen, because we are always being watched. And I literally wrote down, like, is being ghetto like a protest? Now that I think about today. The fact that we know the fact that we know we're being watched and we still live out loud, like for better or for worse, is that protest?
Because you know what? Okay, this is unrelated, but like you be at the beach playing music and then they hear some hip hop come on. It could be Drake, it could be anything, and white people start giving you the eye. And I'm like, I am at the public free beach just like you.
Bitch, the public free beach, yes, thank you. I'm living my public free life, bitch.
You do not own these airways, baby. Sorry. Like,
right.
So anyway.
No, I definitely get concerned about what people will think. And then I also feel like I think of it as like my own personal thing. Like, okay, I'm doing this because I would not listen to music versus I would like listen to nothing versus not listen to what you want to listen to. So it's either me or neutral, right? And so I think that is a
like a coping mechanism.
But it's also a privilege because for them, they're very aware that like even without the monsters, they're like something ain't right because these white people want us here. You know what I mean? They're like, so I think that they know that they're every day they're looking death in the eye, and I think that is what we talked about in episode 1, like this constant fear of it, like it, and you just learn how to still live a life and find joy even though you could be killed by a white supremacist any day. So he says, well, you know, I want to go into the Tix is like, I want to go in the village, and Letitia says Letitia's just it, but she says we are not splitting up, and I'm like, this is why Black people need to be the only people in horror movies, because that's the only shit that makes sense. It's the only shit that makes sense. We all sit together, bitch. So I can. So you can come back.
I don't have a cell phone. I don't have a cell phone.
That's what I'm saying. So you can come back.
Reception. Like, why would we split up?
So you're telling me you can come back and I'm gone forever, and now I'm gone too, and so is Montrose? No, bitch. We're all gonna die together. So they're going out and they see the car garage, and guess what is sitting there looking regular?
Pristine.
Woody is sitting there, fixed the fuck up like they didn't crash that bitch through a whole shack. And I'm like,
but the windows were still shot out, so they made sure to only fix it.
They recreated it specific. Yes. I'm like, bitch,
they've been watching them.
I'm like, bitch, Pimp My Ride never went nowhere. Like, what's
my dude's name?
Exhibit. Exhibit was fine. Probably still is, but he had his kind of like, he had his hard body feel, but like, you know, he read books.
Yeah.
You know, you could
and
talk
he
to him
also,
about the
he
news.
had empathy. He was like, listen, I know you're going through a hard time.
Yes.
Pimp your ride. We gonna hook it up.
Give you that
Don't
fish
worry.
tank. Yes. Oh, that
or you get like a cooler in the glove compartment.
But some of them things were like, bruh, I really do need like a disco in my back seat. Like, y'all are like, this is lit. Or just remember how we didn't think that cars could have anything in them, and now they have computers in them, and we're like, wait a minute. So I was riding around thinking that my CD player was 6-disc CD player was a big deal, and you bitches have satellite radio.
And I think I remember I'm so like, I get nostalgic for that old technology. Like when I get my dad's old BMW and he has the CD changer that's connected through the trunk. It's a different feeling.
Yes. Yeah, that's a vibe right there. But anyway, I mean, to think that things from the 2000s will be retro one day is just too much. But
crying already. Let's go back.
Yeah. Okay. So they start walking down into this weird ass village, because I'm just like, okay, there's a village right here. Like, where are we? Like, why does this feel like we're in another country right now? So they're walking to this village, and this song called Bad Moon Rising comes on by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Some white shit. And so I looked that up, and they said that the song is a metaphor for so like when the songwriter and one of the main guys, his last name is Fogarty, he says, I don't think the song was actually saying that the world is coming to the end, but it's a metaphor. So this is like a bad news kind of song saying like some shit's happening. And so we get that vibe that like this village, there's kids running around or whatever, but there's some sinister shit happening. And so it's like kind of like the root of it. So the town's weird as fuck. And then Letty and Uncle George, Letty's concerned to Uncle George that he's shell-shocked, which is basically PTSD. And thinking that I wondered like how many diagnoses did they put under the words of shell shock that were really like, you know, like deeper things going on with people coming back from war. And so they walk up to, you got your picture now for the village. Yeah.
Keep going.
What did you think about the village?
First of all, I mean, cottage core. It was giving me cottage core.
Wait, what's that?
Oh, sorry. That's TikTok lingo. Basically, I try to get in with the Gen Z. What can I say? It's basically like, I'm making my own butter. I'm wearing home knit organic cotton. I wear long skirts and whatever, and I like nature. So anyway, it was just giving me like, we're like a small little town in, like, what is it, like a small rural town neighborhood of white people. We are all a part of this neighborhood, but they felt separate from the castle.
Right, in a weird way.
Yeah, it was like almost, if you think about like the way we learned about like serfdom and stuff like that, it was like, this is like the working class neighborhood. Like, these are the farmers, these are the this, that, and the third, and then the castle lives over
They probably create
everything
the castle eats, and it's like,
exactly.
for what reason?
So that was
it's probably this is the land that the enslaved people occupied.
Right, and then they replaced them with white
people. Oh, fuck. See?
So
we come up to
what her shorty with the dogs.
Yeah, she has a name that I saw in the captions, but anyway, she's this bitch is like the white Trump support, white women, the 53% of white women who voted for Trump. Yeah, because she is, so Tick is pissed, by the way. He's still pissed. He's, he marched into the village, so he hears the whistle that he heard before with the big monster
when
thing.
The
so
monsters
he runs.
Were there.
So he comes at her.
Called them from at night, they called them from the house. The whistle went off, and then the monsters disappeared.
Yeah,
so
it was clearly their whistle. Yeah, so he hears that, and he comes up like, and this is one part where I was like, Tick, you doing too much. He walks up on this white woman he don't know, like, who are you? What's that whistle? What's happening? Like, he's like, bitch, like, I need answers right now. And she has these big old German Shepherd guard dogs, and she's like letting them go crazy.
Dragged it.
Yeah, she dragged it because she's letting them go crazy. And then Uncle George comes in, and Uncle George keeps playing this role of calming. Like when the cop came, he was the one who addressed the cop the right way. Like he's older. And this is generational because older Black folks they learn how to protest more subtly and more regularly over time. So like Uncle George conforms because he's probably seen too many people get their ass beat or their life taken over this shit. So he just goes out and owns his Black business and minds his business. Like I think that's kind of the difference.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so he walks up and he's like, "We are guests of Mr. Braithwaite," and she goes,
"That's a separate podcast. Owning my Black business." But like not like the business that you run, but like the business
and the business that pays
yours.
You. Right.
But anyway,
somebody tweeted like, "Whose Black business can I be in today?" And somebody retweeted like, "This was Summer Walker wake up and think every day."
This.
So that in itself is a whole nother podcast. So okay, so what I wanted to know, so basically they go through this whole thing where she's telling them like, mind your fucking business, y'all don't belong here. And then she gets into this very racist metaphor. And I wanted to add, and then the way that she calms her dogs is putting her hand up. And I was like, that feels very Nazi, bitch. Secondly, she said, and I also want to know, how do these white people be playing these roles so fucking well? You are transformed into this role. I can't see the line between you. I cannot see. I don't know who you are anymore. You're lost.
Seems like you've done this before.
Right. Wait, there's this wait, this is actually fucked up. There's this SNL sketch, and who was the guest? But basically, it was this white guy comes in to be racist. Oh, it was 12 Years a Slave, so I think maybe like it was Lupita guest. I don't know. But he comes in, it's a 12 Years a Slave audition, and he comes in and does the most racist, like he's Southern, like he's spitting. He's like, "Boy, I hate you. You're disgusting." And they're like, "Whoa, this is amazing." And then he's like, "Okay, yeah." And then they're like, "What's your name?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just a janitor." And it's like, what? Like he was
not so the janitor.
But the idea was like, that, right.
My sock.
Well, they were saying like he didn't even know it was an audition. He was just talking. So it was like it's a great sketch because it's like it really made the point, and it's like how white people are getting a little bit closer to talking about racism in the best way, so or making the right jokes. So she says like, he goes, "Are there grizzlies out here?" Like because he's trying to get her to talk about monsters in a way, but trying to like be He's trying to find
make them remember.
Well, yeah, and he's trying to find a reason to understand what the fuck Tick's talking about. So he thinks they're bears.
Oh.
He just assumes he's mistaken, right? So she goes, no, there ain't no grizzlies, but there are black bears. Wait, can I do it? Y'all, they smart, but they not that smart. They not smart. They just beasts. They clever enough to cause mischief, and they're real persistent. They get all into stuff, but they're still beasts. That's how she goes. Something like that.
I was like, oh, sis, you've been evaluated. Right.
You raggedy bitch. Yeah, I'm like, and so he caught what she was putting down. And he was like, all right, bitch, we about to go. So they turn back around, and here we go again.
I wish I had that on the back of a t-shirt. When someone says something real off the cuff and piss me off, and I turn around and my t-shirt says, all right, bitch, we about to go on the back.
Wait, that's merch. That is our first merch. All right. Let me write this down.
Notes.
That's our first merch, bitch. Okay. So anyway, they walk in, and remember how I said the first episode that like I can't do this whole thing where they don't know what time it's gonna get dark.
Right.
They just be walking, and I'd be like, where are y'all at? Call the Uber and get to the door safely. Because she tells them, y'all better get back up there before dinner time because your ass is grass. Basically letting them know, like, we will.
Exactly.
And she's kind of implying that, and then there's this stone tower building, and they're like, well, what's in there? And she's like, well, bitch, nothing. Like, we hold the meat, like it's like a storage locker.
She said, bitch, mind your business.
But she's
from here.
Right, and the threat was just like, your ass will be hanging up in here if I catch you. So as they're walking away, they're like, nah, Montrose is probably in there hiding in the basement because like that's the only place.
Because they won't tell us where he's at.
Right, and he probably isn't in the castle because we've been in the castle all day and they let us walk all around. So like either he's here in the castle or he's there because everywhere else is like populated by people. So as they're walking back, they're talking about like they got to get a car, they got to get out of here, and Tish is like, I'm gonna steal us a car, and I'm like, that's a bottom bitch right there. So they keep going, and then Uncle George pauses and he's like, wait a minute, something just hit me. Your mother, Dora, Tick, was telling me about how her great-great-grandmother ran through the woods pregnant with her baby.
Right.
So now we're getting some pieces to the puzzle.
Some ancestry.
Yes. So they put it together right then and there that Helen, his great-great-great-grandmother, who was an enslaved person, was pregnant probably with Titus Braithwaite's baby. And ran through the woods. Now, why she ran through the woods, we aren't exactly confirmed yet, but she ran through the woods. So as they sit in there, it's getting dark. And remember what happens when the shit gets dark?
Listen, I would have told them, you need to go home.
Yeah.
The street lights is about to come on.
Bitch. So and that's probably where that shit came from. They're like, the 100 odds monsters are out. Yeah, so these are definitely
very much giving sundown town.
They're giving, right, for all the wrong reasons. So we have these monsters, and they are so one is that we know that like these monsters are very real. They're not a figment. Two, I do think I didn't catch what book he mentioned in the beginning, but they definitely look just like the book that Tick was telling Letitia about in episode 1. But secondly, they look like, what else did you say they look like?
Another show, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like the same monsters from Stranger Things, which is very interesting.
Yeah, like I feel
but
like
then they really do they connect them to Dracula, because did we talk about that last time? Like, they bring in like book mythology. And they're like, well, this is how you deal with a type of monster. So let's try this tactic.
So they are, they definitely are like, they're like the things in these books. I'm sure these books are like, so it's like whoever wrote this shit was like reading a bunch of shit and then was like, ooh, what if it's all went together? But there's also like, I was just going to say that I feel like monsters can only look so many ways to be scary.
Yeah.
Like think about that. Stranger Things has scary monsters. Did you ever see, come on, the one from Jim from The Office, which from John Krasinski and his wife. Oh, Quiet Place. Quiet Place monsters were scary as fuck. They kind of had like these big.
No, I haven't seen that. Ooh.
They were scary. And then
Not the bang.
Did we ever see the monsters in Bird Box? I don't remember. But I just think about
I don't think so. I feel like it was just like the wind and the leaves, and then next thing you know, someone's like scratched up and dead.
Right. And then
that
there was
a
a
good
movie where
though.
It was. Was it? We're gonna have to.
It was very entertaining. It was entertaining.
What's his name is fine. That's all I know. Listen, that's all I know. But wait, there was another one too. There was like a movie where it was like an alien movie with like Amy Adams.
Predator?
That one, but it was Amy Adams. It was more recent, and like the aliens touched down, and they didn't know how to talk to them, and so it was this big thing where like it was like it's like a one-word movie, and it's like the alien things came to Earth and were just sitting there, and nobody knew what to do. Okay, well, we're gonna have to.
I can't think of it. Yeah, we'll come back.
Hold on one second.
Here
it is. Look, I type in Amy Adams. People say alien movie. Arrival.
Oh no, I haven't seen that.
Okay, so and then they kind of showed them, but it was like a different feel, because I feel like people stopped showing aliens as Martians, and now it's like, just what idea does your brain come up with for these monsters and what makes
right?
So these bitches are scary because they look like big old frog dogs, but then they got a bunch of eyes on them, and then their mouths open up to be like the tentacles. Disgusting. Okay, anyway, so
and then it's dark. It's not like they just come out there in the daytime. You gotta wait till it's night, like.
Or how about this special
They burrow under the ground?
Girl, that's what I'm about to say. Like we saw it coming, like in a straight hole. And let me tell you, when that happened, I watched episode 2 by myself, and when that happened, I said, you know what? Pause. And I said, Mama, you gotta have to watch this episode with me, because I was like, I'm not doing this with these hoes. I'm not doing this. So anyway,
that's funny.
Here we hear the dog whistle again, and we see Christina with her long ass hair. I call her having Disney princess hair. And that bitch with the dogs is back. So now we know she's in on it, and her ass is still a rude bitch. But the whistle, immediately, Letitia and Uncle George are like, huh, where are we? And I'm like, bitch, huh? Like it's that quick, it's that instantaneous. And so now
But it doesn't happen to Tick. Tick is, it seems like he's immune to this whistle.
Exactly. Thank you.
Which is why he's not forgetting, why he knows everything that happened, and they're like,
Right. And this is the point of the show where I said, we get into some weird shit, bitch.
Some magic shit.
So then we transition into we're back in the castle, and then the second half of the show moves real fast. So and there's a lot going on, so we'll try to give you we'll try to give it to you quick. Okay, so like I said, this is some weird shit. So then we go back to the castle, and we see a nigga in a hooded robe pulling something, literally a body organ, out of a living man who is screaming. And his hands are bare. There's no gloves, there's no surgical shit, and no one is freaking out. Everyone is just like, weird. It's a Thursday.
Then, you know what, though? Did we talk about how we thought that they were the same person? Yeah.
No. So we saw a theory on Twitter. Do you want to share?
We saw a theory on Twitter that Christina and William are the same person. So William is the Malfoy looking man. Yeah. And Christina is the long blonde haired woman who gets out the car when the mob after the diner is chasing
and saves them from the monsters
with guns. Yeah. So it's like, you never seen them in the same room. So is it Bow Wow or is it Little Mama? So
I'm going. I'm not doing this Bow Wow Little Mama with you, because anyway.
But anyway, so is Williams the one doing the surgery?
No, I don't know. It's actually somebody it's very, but now I think this is the point. They kept saying at dinner, the lodge members would come. So like, we know there's going to be, there's going to start being strangers here. Cause even the chick with the dogs was like, y'all don't look like they're regular guests. So niggas be coming up to the castle for some type of eyes wide shut orgy shit. Yeah, I'm assuming some sex shit. So anyway, so he's doing this like it's regular. And then we see Uncle George, he's reading, Uncle George finds this thing. Do you want to talk about him finding that book? You want me to? Okay. Yeah. So basically, before we get into like the next set of scenes that is crazy, we're just kind of seeing where everyone's at. Yeah. So he's looking at these books, and he finds this book called On the Edge of the Borderlands, and he goes to grab it because I guess he likes it. And what happens?
The whole shit just Scooby-Doo's, like the wall flips. And
yes. Which, first of all, how fucking big do your house gotta be to have a hidden compartment?
Yeah, like Okay, also, do you like, is there a service you call, or like, is there a history of like that technology? Like, I
Yeah,
want to
why do
know, because
we?
it's very common, but we never talk about like back in 1763, Leonard III invented
Right.
the hideaway room.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like, I wonder if it's an invention of like TV, or if it's something that
You know
like is
what?
like a
Black
panic.
people probably invented it. I'm not gonna hold you.
Yeah, dead ass.
And
Or
that's
it's
why they don't talk about it.
it could be a panic room. I feel like people use that to hide. Like I've seen it in shows where people use it in that way. And then secondly, I think a lot of shit was like so that service people had a way to move around the house and not be seen.
Right.
But when he goes in there, it's this big fucking library shit. It's like huge.
Yeah.
So he's in there, and then at first I was like, well, this is lucky. Second time around, I was like, he might have been led here. Did you notice that? Because it was too perfect. Right, and on this table is sitting there the bylaws of the Order of the Ancient Dawn with a magnifying glass next to it. Like somebody put his favorite fucking book right there to let him find that. So I don't know. And it's funny because what we do know so far, it doesn't seem like he got tricked on purpose, but maybe he did. I don't fucking know. So we go back to the man getting stitched up. The hooded figure walks off with his little organ in his hand like it's nothing. Again, this is just a Thursday at the castle. So the man sits up and seeing Tick, he goes, he was darker than I expected. And I'm like, boy, fuck you. You done brought this man through all this shit and you gonna be mad because he's black? Girl.
Right.
Then we zoom in on the face.
I didn't expect you to be that black.
Right, nigga, fuck you. Anyway, so we zoom in on the face. Bitch, it is Fitz. Right. It is Fitz.
It's like, wait.
It is Tony Goldwyn.
This is crossover episode.
Yeah, it's like, come on, I can't do that. I can't see you in other shit, Tony. Quit playing. But I want us to have a quick side note.
I'm like, is this the White House? Because I mean,
right. Right. Like, did y'all do this on purpose, or is this man just like, please let me act, y'all, please. But I want to talk about Tony Goldwyn for 2 seconds. So Tony Goldwyn, his family is the Goldwyn-Mayer family. Like, when old movies used to go off and that lion would roar? Tony Goldwyn is rich as fuck. He did not have to work, and he still wanted to be an actor. Yes, he is rich. And I remember seeing him in an old episode, just to show you what I do on my free time. I was like, go rewatch old shows like Matlock, and I will see all the big like white actors go through that show. Tony Goldwyn was definitely on Matlock with his cute little feathered hair when he was young. So this nigga's been acting for a while. So I was like, okay, we about to see some acting. Like this nigga's about to be. He's, we keep talking about him. He is slave master and he got a fetish. He's really about to act this shit out. So anyway, here's Fitz in all his glory. Looking good, looking like a zaddy. Not
always, unfortunately.
Yeah, I actually think Fitz is finer than Jake. I'm not gonna lie. Jake was a very regular looking. Yeah. Okay.
It's an alternate universe.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm making a Shonda universe collaborate with this universe, and it's not something we should do. So, Joseph Tannhauser is the person who made this painting that Samuel Braithwaite starts talking about. Yeah. And he starts talking about, so it's basically this picture of I think the painting is called Genesis 2:19, or it's just like that's the verse. Oh, it's called Adam and All His Creation. So Fitz goes into his like super villain monologue, because every villain needs one, and he starts saying like, look, this painting, it's all the creatures that Adam named for God, and Christina, without like lifting a finger, knows the whole Genesis 2:19 verse by heart. And Samuel Braithwaite, who is Fitz, starts talking about Nirvana, and how Adam was the one who God picked to decide the final form and station in the hierarchy of nature. And Christina comes over and she's like, we blame Eve, she's that bitch that ruined creation. And then they're like, but actually we're just kidding, because Christianity is obviously a farce, right? Like it's just a children's story. And I'm like, wow, like writers love being like, hey Christians, y'all are dumb as fuck. And I don't know how y'all feel about it, but writers love being like, y'all niggas are. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if you pay attention, I know there's some Christians who had to say, "Oh, I can't watch that." Yeah, no. And so, so Tick's like, "Oh, let me guess, you're God." He's like, "No, bitch, I'm Adam." And then this is so not the point, but in this scene, Samuel Braithwaite looks like what I think the nigga in Kill a Mockingbird is about. Like he looks like what I think the book is about. And then when that happened, it really hit something for me, which is that Atticus Finch is the name of the lawyer in To Kill a Mockingbird. And I'm just like, them niggas really love books if they name their black son after this book. And then I was like, wait a minute, who named Atticus? And that's the only thought. I'll put a pin in that. So then they dismiss him into the ceremony. So it's very weird. It's like
I thought he was named, hold on.
He could be named after a billion things. This is just me making up names.
Yeah, okay.
What do you think?
Who was the first black man killed? And
wow, did I just do that?
Crispus Attucks. Oh, I thought it was
okay.
It's not Atticus, but that's what I thought that was.
There's also Hordes. Atticus was a Greek of Athenian descent. He was also traced back to lineage in other places, but he was traced back to Zeus. So maybe it also has it's like a Greek thing. Anyway, I don't know. So
it could be a lot.
Yeah, that's me. Oh, let me change my.
I'm sure it will come up.
Let me tell you how much I am okay with the fact that I don't know much about nothing. Okay, now I'm gonna show you real quick the I don't want to get too. So this is from a later scene, but this is what the hoods look like. They're sinister. So then we go into so this is the last scene before the shit pops the entire fuck off. So Tick and Christina are in the hallway because Christina escorts him out, and he asks her about who William is, and William is like, he's a boy and a friend, which is like, oh, y'all fucking for sure. She tells her like basically taking an attitude adjustment because these lodge members that are about to be here are not the niggas you want to piss the fuck off. No. And he's like, make some friends, quote, not all of us white folks are out to get you, which is like, again, get the fuck out of here. You're not an ally because you are the one who has to talk to me throughout the day.
Not at all.
Yeah. You're just my age.
Yeah.
But then she said something about they think you have shell shock or something, and that's how I know that this bitch heard what Uncle George and Letitia said in the village.
Right.
That's how
they've been watching, they've been listening, they've been looking through the secret orb, following them in the woods.
Because she says, like, why do you care so much about them? They don't even think that your mind is right. And so anyway, so he goes, bitch, I know you're doing some type of witchcraft bullshit. Don't even play with me. This bitch is a spell. And I love that it's, because he goes, y'all are, KK, y'all are the Grand Wizards of the clan. And she goes, oh! Bitch, the clan is poor. Like, they are pobre. Don't fuck with me, bitch. I got slave money.
They could never. The clan could
never. No, but actually she has a really good point because I feel like I'm pretty sure the clan was poor white people who were disenfranchised. Because
I had this conversation with my roommate. She was like, I don't know. I don't think so. Because how would they last so long? I was just like, hatred.
Bitch. Oh, the origin. I mean, I'm talking about the origins. No, but this is actually worth getting into. So I think that again, we are not historians, but we are very smart. So
we just have a few details.
Yeah. So, but I think it's like, think about it. The Civil War ruined the South. Most of the battles were in the South. So that's what Reconstruction is. That's what that whole era was. It was free Black people and white people who were never slave owners. So they never were like rich, kind of rebuilding the South. And then that's where sharecropping came in. That's when not indentured servitude, but like that's when this time period of like, I can't own anything. So poor white people became, and if we had bonded in that time, capitalism would not be what it is today.
I mean, we did, and they were like, nah.
Right, exactly.
You gotta put some terror into this bullshit because y'all cannot be one.
For sure.
Class system, sorry.
Right. No, you're not. I'm sorry. So yeah, I think that there's that. So capitalism that's where capitalism is inherently a racist system because it encouraged poor white people to keep saying, no, bitch, you can be rich too. You just gotta shit on white people and be a part of this system that fucks them up, even though they haven't done a thing to you. They haven't done a thing to you.
Actually, the definition of the American dream. No, white people, you can fuck some shit up too.
Dream is greeting and dream together. Green. Yeah. The American green. I like that.
Also a t-shirt idea.
Girl, episode title, American Green. Okay, so anyway, that happened. And so it's a fact that like poor white people were like, okay, we're gonna terrorize them because rich white people didn't have to do the Klan stuff. They owned everything. So they would just discriminate. They just made the fucking laws that made Jim Crow was a thing. Jim Crow was legal.
They put it in the books.
Right. So anyway, it was a full court press to make sure that we would be disenfranchised. So anyway, here you have it. That's where I think she's not playing around. I think the Klan, because also the Klan moves loud. You know how they say that like real money move quiet? The Klan is too loud and ghetto for these
like,
real.
Oh, we gotta burn something.
Yeah, no, nigga. How about we just throw them out in the streets and take away everything they own?
How about we don't allow them to eat?
Right, period. So, and then I was like, maybe she's using these animals as guard dogs. Like, I'm just like, I'm starting to think, well, this shit is sinister. And some of this shit, like, this shit is all working together. So
this is so weird, sorry, because it made me think of The Village.
Oh, yeah.
In The Village, they're talking about, mythical monsters, like, you'll die, like, da-da-da. And
wait, in The Village, like, the movie?
Yeah.
By M. Night Shyamalan? Like, yeah, you gotta clarify, because we just...
Sorry.
I'm like, The Village from the show? No, that movie fucked me up.
And it's just like, okay, so where did these monsters come from? Who owns, like, who's controlling the monsters? How do you know they're there? If you knew there's monsters, how did you make it back? Anyway, this is a whole nother alternate universe, but it is a recurring theme that we hadn't spoken about how this is a recurring theme in white history.
So the Village fucked me up because it was the first time I realized that white people would let movies get made and then say they were bad. And I'm like, so y'all paid to make this movie and then y'all coming and saying it's not a good. How do movies get made then?
Who makes the final call?
I thought y'all only made movies if they were good. I thought that was the whole point of why black people are not here, because you don't think they're good enough. So now
it's all a Ponzi scheme.
Okay, you just trying. Okay, so. Okay, so so randomly, so this is important. So she low-key confirms that, hello New York, she low-key confirms that they do have his father. But she says that, and then he's like, bitch, this is a spell. She's like, we're not no regular witches. And he's like, well, then do something about it. Like, if you're my friend, then let my friends know I'm not crazy. So without moving a finger, this bitch lifts the spell. And that's how I know we were fucking with some real dark magic, because she ain't have to burn no candles.
Period.
She ain't have to burn no incense. She just said, and the fucking.
And they said, what the fuck is
you
going on?
Let me out of here, bitch. And I'm like, oh, that's the right reaction, not moving on up.
Right.
So in that, he gets mad and tries to rush out his room to help find his friends and help them, and there's a force field, and I'm like, that's a force field from the car.
Right, which I did not catch. Crazy. How did I miss that? I was like, damn, that car really flipped the other one.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, but it's like, it's this couple things looking back. And then also, I'd be watching shows, so I'd be like, where's the twist at, bitch? I'm going to guess it. You're not going to surprise me. So, anyway, this is the last scene before we get into some really trippy shit. And so this boy comes out of nowhere. It's like a boy from the town. He's like, Miss Breakwhite, it's time. And she runs out. And bitch, there's this cow giving birth, and in silk, in a nice silk top, she reaches into that cow and pulls out not a calf, not a Chick-fil-A mascot, but one of them little things, that the monsters and the thing, and she's holding that bitch like it is her baby. And that's when I said, well, bitch, we fucking with some dark magic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Back to the village. Someone is out here breeding, controlling, knows this is happening, and controlling the population. It is not monsters just exist, and we forgot to talk about that in the story of Adam and Eve and motherfucking 40 Days and 40 Nights and Noah's Ark. We didn't talk about there were still monsters and they made it through the storm. So anyway.
Oh, speaking of monsters, okay, so here's where we start to get into a quick cut. So we're going to do this for y'all a little bit differently. So they start going back and forth between all the rooms because, again, they're locked in their rooms. So Letitia's in her room, and then we hear a knock, and she goes to get a knife, and she's like, bitch. And because she now knows that things are not copacetic. Yeah. So, and Tick comes in, and he's like, bitch, we're trapped, but I made it in here. And she's like, well, let's go. He's like, no, we're never going to make it out. Like, we just got a game plan. So they sit down, and there's this, like, stained glass painting in the window that is literally Adam about to fuck Eve with a leaf. Oh, and me and my mom were watching this, and we said, "What the fuck, bitch?" So,
who painted this?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. What you say? That's not art. This is not art. WAP art. This shit bullshit. So. Letty says, you know, the Bible is full of demons and monsters, so I guess that this shit might be real, which I'm not going to get into Christianity talk today, but I do think we have to point out that, like, there is some shit in there that, like, you have to either believe it all, you have to believe in the witchcraft, you have to believe in sorcery, or you can't believe in none of it, because you're talking about, like, forces that we cannot be seen. So he brings up the psalm that we tried to remember before, and so if you haven't guessed yet, we did not go to church today, and he uses them. He reminds her of that, and that's when the Atticus Finch shit hit me. So Letty starts talking about, and this is the first time we really learn more about her from what she's willing to share, and she starts to be vulnerable, and she says that, like, she used to be at the house and her mama would just leave her for however long at a time. And I was like, okay, she's a half sibling. I know, like, because she can't be full with all the other kids being a different shade, but what's the timeline? Like, when was she an only child? What happened? Why do her other kids have a better relationship with her mama? Is she the oldest and therefore she got the worst of it, and then her mama got saved? And I'm just like, what's the story here? And then I also had this random thought of, like, you know, how are Bible verses different than mantras? Because they're the same. Like, you read them for comfort, you read them for meaning. Thing. And then Tick promises he won't abandon her. And then it's like, you know, we kept thinking, well, this don't have to be about romance. They could all just be friends on an adventure, but then they start kissing. And then we zoom out of the sex window into another scene.
So then we go to Tick's room, and then at first we think time passed and he's like he left Letty's room and now he's in his own room, whatever. But then we realize that he's trying to connect to Uncle George, and he's trying to do Morse code on the door, because he's like, oh, I know he's next door. He might be able to hear what's going on. So on the other side, in his imagination, on the other side, Uncle George is writing out the words, and it spells wizard. And it's like, oh, so yeah, there's some magic shit going on. Because that was like, if it was like in the same timeline, Tick just found out that there was a spell that was causing them to lose their memory.
No, this is why you have to look back, and it makes more sense. But in that, keep going, and then I'll actually keep going.
Oh, okay. So it starts to get weird, because then you realize that Tick was not in the same situation with Letty, because there's like another dream-like situation where an Asian woman comes in, and it seems like she's from the war. She has on her she has her regalia.
Yeah.
So
army fatigues. I love it. Bougie niggas use the same words for everything. Go ahead.
So then they start to like fight, and he's like,
she got a gun
about it. He's upset. He's like, stop! Like, what's going on? Like, no, we don't. Like, you don't have to do this. And then eventually, like, has to kill her.
But I think that she's But
no,
we're not even there.
Her name, but her okay.
Oh, well, her name is Gia, and then I just think that this is when I'm starting to realize, like, oh shit, we're in a dream sequence, because this bitch comes out the wardrobe with a gun. She's literally shooting bullets at this nigga, and so they're fighting, and then we see Uncle George hear that, and he wants to go save him, so he reaches for that special book that opened up the library. But then his vision starts, and it's not his wife Hippolyta, it's Dora, who is Tick's motherfucking mom. And I'm like, wait a minute, bitch. Yeah, because I'm like, and then because my mom had noticed that he pulled out a picture of it in his wallet at some point, and it wasn't Hippolyta, who is fine. It was Dora. And so he's like, he knows it's a vision because he knows he needs to save Tick, but he gets entranced. And then we go back to
Letty's room. So then in Letty's room, Tick start getting naked.
They kissing, they moaning.
And I was like, hold on, what is going on? Okay, are they about to do this? But then I was like, okay, but it's a dream. But okay, hold on. But we did assume, like, okay, they're going on this road trip. Someone's gonna start hooking up, right? And I was like, probably
it's
not
either
gonna be
gonna
Uncle
be
George. He's
her,
gonna be
Uncle George.
faithful.
Yeah.
I was like, it's probably gonna be Tick and Letty, but also they're old friends. Like, it was just like a whole lot of like, I guess there's pent-up sexual energy. I guess, whatever.
For sure. So then we go back to Tick's room real quick, and he's getting his ass kicked. So this is before he realizes he really got to hurt her. And she's speaking, the captions told me that she was speaking in the language of Adam. Because my ass don't know no motherfucking Korean. So I would have just assumed this bitch was speaking Korean. But it turns out, no, she's speaking the language of Adam. And that's how I knew, oh, something ain't real. Because I'm like, bitch, they could have transported her. How the fuck do I know? Oh, and I think this is the person he called episode 1. The person he called in Korea, yes. So it's
but actually, no, because it's like, why would, if he killed her, then how could he call her?
Oh, good point. You're right. So I'm wrong. And then we go back to Uncle George's room.
Right. And then in Uncle George's room, what's her name again?
Dora,
sorry. So he's with Dora, who we assume is Tick's mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're discussing like the old house, like their old stomping ground. Like,
no, they're discussing the book.
Oh, the book. I'm sorry, the house.
What I love is that you read your notes, but you were about to you're like, I'm about to freak this. Like they talk about where they grew up, but they actually do. No, you're not wrong because they talk about growing up together. But he tells them about the book that he found to go into the library, and she asked him what it's about.
You tell this part because I actually kind of forgot.
Oh, it's okay. He asked her. He's like, oh, I saw this book today. My favorite book, House in the Borderland. Do you remember it? He's like, oh. She's like, well, what is it about? He's like, well, a man finds a home. And this is when I start to get like, one thing I remember from humanities class is that if some bitches bring up a book in the show, the book is significant. Yeah. So he says, a man finds a home in the plane of silence, which debatable. We could call this place the plane of silence. We don't know where the fuck we are. And he's fighting humanoid pig-like creatures, bitch, before he goes to the sea of sleep, where he reunites with his long lost love. And I said, nigga, are y'all about to do this to me? And then she says, well, do they stay together? And he said, yes, because their house collapsed on top of them. And I said, did you just foretell Uncle George's death to me, Hel?
Please. It's too soon. We said he was going to make it.
What are you doing? So
what
then,
the fuck?
Quick, right. So then that gives me kind of like a sad mood. So then we go to Letitia's room.
Yeah. So then in Let's room,
it's going too fast, right?
Yeah, hold up. So then
it's like before it's like, this is a scene. So the notes are probably too spicy because it's like, it's not there yet, but it's just getting hot and heavy. And then they go right back to Uncle George talking to Dora, and they're recounting.
No, but we forgot to say that he gets naked. Tick that's naked in Let's room, but it's a snake instead of a penis.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's the next part. So it's like it just goes to like, she's like, whoa. And then they go back to Uncle George, and Dora's like, remember that what if game? And the games that they used to play, the three of them. So I'm like, was she fucking brothers? Like, what was the situation? So she's like, we used to say, what if
that? Not surprised.
No, but yeah, because our grandparents were freaks. And they don't want to admit it. What if you could go anywhere in the world? What if you could only eat one thing for the rest of your life? What if magic were real? And Montrose wanted super strength, which we learned makes more sense later because he was a young one who used to get beat up the most.
Right.
And Uncle George wanted to fly. And she goes, well, you could fly with your children, right? And first of all, I'm like, children? Don't he have that one daughter that's in the place? Like, and then he goes, you're not real. And so he's fighting it because I'm like, I feel like she tempted his ass to just give it up and die right here. Like, what do you mean? So then we go to Letitia's room, and that's when she starts saying no for real.
Yeah, and it starts to get real crazy, and then it just kind of like goes back to the next scene. But before it does, instead of, like I was saying, instead of a penis, he gets undressed and it's a snake. So it's like, okay, Adam and Eve, evil, like, this is not good. Like, this is not Tick. This is not what you want. This is some type of metaphor for something, but we haven't really figured it out yet.
Also,
and then it goes back to Tick's room.
Right, this is so small, but I just thought about when we were talking about when it was Samuel and Christina and Tick in that chamber room, and Christina was like, the bitch Eve is the one who ruined it for humanity. But it's like, the snake is the man. Like, the snake is embodied by Adam. Like, the men are the problem here.
Sow their seeds. Women can have one child a year or two child a year.
The men are the problem. Like, the snake is the man. It's just, I don't know what the significance of that is, but I love the idea that, like, no, you're the problem. I'm not.
In conclusion, fuck boys been fuck boying since the beginning of time. Since the beginning of time.
So all that craziness has been happening, and then, like you mentioned, Tick ends up strangling G.I. and kills her. Uncle George lets Dora dissolve into nothing, and then we see
that white people been watching them this whole time, which is
laughing at
crazy.
We're being watched.
Is this Get Out?
We're being watched. Is life Get Out? This universe is Get Out.
They were like, oh, so like that's who we're supposed to be letting into our ceremony tonight.
And they're giggling.
I guess.
No, they're giggling, and then this is also what gets me, because white people have been white people who perpetuate racist violence love to get dressed up to do it. And so it's like, these niggas got the nerve to be in black tie.
I want to cry. I'm just saying, like, they would get dressed up to perpetuate racist violence.
Like, I mean, because I still have a problem with, like, some of the imagery that bothers me the most from slavery. Yes, but I just, like, think about all the white women, and this is not about white women right now, but all the white women who used to own slaves and would be enslaved people and would be jealous of the women, the enslaved women having sexual attention that they did not want. And they would just sit there and sip their tea while the women got beat in front of them. Like, they would watch, they had nothing to do, they weren't working. So they would just watch enslaved people be beaten. And I'm just like, that idea of, like, you putting on lace to sit and gloves to watch me, like that, I just think of Southerners as, like, so inherently violent. And I know that's my own kind of prejudice, but it's just, I mean, and not Southerners, Americans. But anyway, so they come out into the hallway, and I almost feel like Uncle George senses that something, right? Because Uncle George is staring at the fucking window, like,
he's like, I need to get out. What's going on?
But he was the only one who was like, this shit ain't real, but I'm a hug on her booty real quick anyway, but this shit ain't real. Like, you knew it. So they come on the hallway and everyone's shaking, but and I felt the worst for Letitia, because she couldn't even tell them what was going on with her, because it would admit that she's attracted to Tick, and also that she's been violated by Tick, who's not. And I think she's probably just, like, so relieved it wasn't really him, because that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare.
Yeah, like, you went on this road trip with this man, you thought as an old friend, safe, whatever, and next thing you know, he's assaulting you. Like,
right. And I wouldn't
after the monsters. Which, does she remember the monsters at this point?
Let's talk about how the monsters is a metaphor for how persistent racism is, and then let's talk about how Black women have to also protect themselves from Black men on top of everything else.
It is just a lot.
A lot. So they come on the hallway, and Uncle George is like, Tick is like, what y'all see? And Uncle George is like, it ain't your business. And I'm just like, sir.
Nothing. I ain't seen nothing.
Because he had also asked him in the woods, like, why do you know something about my mother? Like, what?
Right.
And he was like, oh, we was cool back in the day. I'm like, so the signs are there. Then he gives his speech, which is another thing where I'm like, nigga, don't give speeches. Why are you giving a speech? Where you going? No, you don't have to give us this wisdom yet. You'll be here around to get more wisdom. Don't get no speech. And he starts saying, I wrote it down because I thought he says, that you were a good boy when you were young. Because, there's this other thing about Black families that he brings up, which is like this idea of how much families got beaten and how people grow older and realize that that was abusive and they apologize for it, but then they perpetuate. Like, it's just this cycle of abuse, and there's a half recognition of just like, I should have done better, but there's not a bigger conversation about abuse or slave mentality, but it's just like that. So he says, you were a good boy and you're a better man. Don't let them make you question yourself. Then he pulls Letitia in. That's how you win. They want to make us crazy. They want to terrorize us. They want to make us scared. And I just thought, like, you can write this. You can write this at any time, and it'll be relevant.
2020.
Yes.
2 minutes ago.
So they go to the chamber for dinner, and these niggas are sitting down.
But remember, we had to say that Journey was not invited to dinner. I mean, Letitia was not invited to dinner. William said, you can have dinner on the terrace, ma'am. This is a men's only club.
if I would eat all the dessert, I just know that if I'm sitting there at dinner, I'd probably be like, oh, my first moment alone, bitch, let's eat. Like
because you really don't know if the food is good. Like
or
it
how
could
about
be a turkey with no seasoning, but it's cooked well, but no seasoning. You know what I mean?
but bitch, you hungry. And how about that'd be the time I finally went to go use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like I cannot be shitting around these men, but as soon as I get the chance, I'm about to go blow this bathroom up.
Stop. I'm crying.
Okay, so they're in the chamber for dinner, and William does this thing that white people be doing, where he goes in the ear and goes, I know that they don't want you here, but you should be here. And it's like, nigga, so you're trying to encourage me by telling me they're racist, but you're not gonna say shit but to encourage me. And white people do that all the time. You deserve to be here, but then don't say shit to the other white people.
Exactly. No allyship, but they just want to be performative. Bitch,
ooh, performative.
Shut the fuck up.
So Samuel gets up and says, I give of myself to you guys, and serves little pieces of his motherfucking liver. And Uncle George looks at it and
don't eat that.
He put his arm out like the car was stopping at the light and said, don't do it.
It's not necessary. That's what he said. It's not.
Yes.
for us to do what we got to do tonight.
Dead ass. And then Courtney B. Vance gets up and gives this little like address to the room. He's walking around that I love. Do you want to go through that, or you want me to do it?
No, you got it.
So he gets up, and first of all, I don't know, maybe I'm obsessed, but I always love knowing that actors are Greek.
I'm gonna put it on the screen.
Oh, word! I love knowing that actors are Greek.
They had dinner in their black tie, looking
looking good, looking the motherfucker good. Okay, but so he gets up and he's like, I understand y'all belong to the Order of Ancient Dawn, and they're like, who is this nigger speaking to us? It's bad enough he's here. It's bad enough that he eats. And I was just laughing, thinking like, this nigga's a Kappa, because he goes, I got some experience with fraternal societies, and I'm like, yo, I love that. I just love knowing that niggas are Greek.
Hilarious.
And he starts saying like, I'm a member of the Prince Hall Freemason, and another moment where we know how much him and Uncle George and Tick are on the same wavelength, because he goes, Prince Hall was an abolitionist with the Massachusetts Militia for Independence, and he wanted to become a Freemason there, but he was colored, so they couldn't join. But he asked Tick, and Tick answered. So it's like they're on the same they're giving a speech.
They're mind melding.
Thank you. And then he goes, but guess what, bitch? I found a loophole in the motherfucking. Y'all should have never let me learn how to read, ho, because. Right. Tick is the son among sons, meaning he's in Titus's official birth line. So they have assumed that Helen, the enslaved woman who escaped, was, impregnated by him, and that's what the kindness, quote unquote, was. So Tick stands up and says,
impregnated by Titus.
Right,
the owner,
right.
The original owner of the castle after his
right, the Braithwaite,
the white man in the painting, yeah.
So he's a Braithwaite, which is probably why we know that Christina and Samuel knew that, and that's why he was surprised how dark he was, because he knew he was half black. But is he still black? Like, duh, nigga, he's still black in the 1800s. He's not gonna keep any lighter,
right?
Who is he gonna mingle with anyway? I just don't even want to talk about interracial relationships, because it's just, how
it's another podcast.
So he gets up and he says, I want you niggas to get the fuck out of here. This is my shit. And everybody gets out. And Tick goes.
But Tick says, I want you motherfuckers to get out.
Right. Tick is like, because basically what Uncle George just did was let them know that, he was like, he owns part of this shit just by his birthright. So let's talk about this. So everybody gets out, and he tells Samuel, give me my father back too, bitch. And Samuel was like, nigga, get the fuck out of here. So Fitz gets up like, bitch. He's like, listen, the Book of Names is what Titus used to do his little spell. You dilute it, you taint it, but you got some of his power. So don't think just because I want your ass means I'm not going to get rid of your ass. So he walks out. And it's like, well, damn, like Samuel let him know like his dick is still big. So they since I think they have the run of the land now, they burst in. This is one of my favorite scenes. They run into the stone structure that we saw the meat hanging from, and they go to find Montrose, and he's not there, but they find his flask, and here comes the dog bitch with her shotgun, and she's like, I got you, dumb niggers. Why you keep fighting once you're snared? And we think she about to shoot them because she got the drop, but then here come Letitia, who is so fucking loyal, and she knocks her ass out from behind.
Yep.
And they find, I don't know what this book is about, but they find the Count of Monte Cristo, which is, they find his flask and he's not there. And then they think, but his favorite book is Count of Monte Cristo, which I guess somebody escaped. So they look through the...
Atticus Tick brought that on the trip. I remember it's by Alexander Dumas, I think. Dumas,
yes.
And he packs it. He packs it on a
So
trip.
there must be something in it, though, about escaping a prison.
Significance.
Yeah, because they know they know the nigga has escaped. So then we see Montrose pop up from the ground. He's tunneled his way out through this stone thing.
Looking like Buffy the Black Vampire Slayer.
And it's Michael K. Williams, who I fucking love, bro.
Love that for him. Get so checked. Bro.
Yes, and there go Omar. He's from The Wire, and he's just a classic. Yeah. So anyway, the Blackbird by Nina Simone is playing, which is about like freedom and whatever. And so he's mad as fuck that they came to save him. He's like, nigga, who told y'all to come get me? They're like, bitch, you wrote a letter. He was like, how you think I wrote you a letter? We ain't talked in 5 years. Why would you come? And I'm just like, ain't that about a nigga to be ungrateful when you didn't win all of that? And Letitia comes in like, bitch, let's get the fuck out of here. Because just like a Black woman, she would keep you on schedule. So then they're in the car. And then what happens?
Oh, they were so close.
So close. They were gone. They were out this bitch. They were speeding away. Everyone was catching up on information.
Exactly. Like, yo, Pops, like, I wasn't fucking with you, Atticus, but, here you are. Whatever. I guess we're gonna rekindle on our way back to Chicago. And next thing you know, a fucking mythical force field pops up as they're going through a tunnel on their way out of town. And
that bridge, that fucking bridge.
It totals the car. The car, like,
it's excruciating.
It's like an accordion type of thing.
Yeah,
and they all make it, but they are definitely rolling out the car.
Yeah, exactly.
They're rolling out the car. It's not.
It's scary. So then this song called Killing Strangers by Marilyn Manson. And I'm not a huge Manson fan at all, but I just think of him as like a revolutionary white in his own way, because he's very like anarchy and like, he's basically like the Eminem of metal. And I just like, so I was just like, ooh, like they're playing this song. They're letting us know that the whites are in control. Bitch, you thought you was going to be free, but no, bitch, we're about to, cause like,
I don't think it's the Eminem, but we'll come back to
that. Who is he then? I don't know much.
He's the freedom fighter of metal, but Eminem's not the freedom fighter of white rap.
Oh no, I think of Eminem. See, I didn't say freedom fighter, but I think of Eminem as like the black sheep of rap. I think of him as one of the white sheep of rap, and so I think that's what it is. But
you can't be the white sheet of metal.
Yeah, well, because I feel like maybe so, but like
we can just say he's the black sheep of metal.
Right, for sure. But it's just funny because like they did songs together they did songs together because they both were being boycotted for their messaging at one point.
Oh, okay.
Like that. Yeah, so I don't know, girl. I don't know what the fuck I'm in white people's business, and let me back on out.
There's the circle. There's white people's business.
I'm in the white space.
We're gonna get out it. I'm
tiptoeing out. So but I thought that was purposeful because the song I'm paying attention to when lyrics show on the screen, and this one was showing the lyrics. And so, like, time slows down, they get out the car, and I'm just like, damn, they all got to go to the chiropractor because that shit's gonna fuck they back up. And as soon as you get out the car, this nigga Fitz shoots Letitia for no motherfucking reason in her gut.
This motherfucking wildin'. Like, it's sir.
For no goddamn reason. And
you gonna come back if you say we have to come back.
And right, that's what I'm saying. Just put chains on us, please. So she starts bleeding out of her mouth, which fucks me up in any movie because I'm just like, damn,
they're not gonna make it.
Ooh, and Christina is silent, which I bring you back to this idea of like all white people are not out to get you, and it's like, Christina, but you're
allies.
But you're complicit as fuck. So here we go. And I was just like, I wonder, like, what would I do? Like, I don't know what I would do in this moment. I just have to be like, all right, well, take me on back to the house then. So then Fitz is like, you choose who gets killed next, your uncle or your father. And I'm like, why? do you enjoy this? So he's basically saying, like, you're not going to ruin this shit for me. So they're back to the house and they're getting prepared for the ceremony. And it bothers me because they're cleaning Tick off and he's butt naked in this room full of white people. And I really hate him being like that. But basically we find out, this is when we find out the real
They were
motivation.
cleaning him. They were washing him.
Right, but he ain't have to have no drawers on. So they were so we find out that what Samuel really wants is immortal life. And he's learning the language of Adam, which is tricky, and he thinks that the blood of Titus is the key. So he wants someone who is, but I'm just like, if you have the blood, why it can't be you? So I guess he wants double the blood. I mean, Christina got the blood, like everybody has the blood.
I'm confused.
So they Christina and Tick for a moment talk about their father issues, and Tick is like, so why are you going out of your ways for a nigga who's gonna turn you over for the next man you marry? And Christina's like, I don't know. That's just my daddy. That's family. But you're the one who brought your friends into this. Like, y'all don't need to do that. And he was like, nigga, I didn't know we was going to end up here. Like, of course, but I guess she's saying, like, it could have just been you dealing with this if you hadn't made me lift a spell. So I think there's something about that. But then we find out through the portal that Letitia is alive. He has healed her with his magic, but he won't heal Uncle George until the ceremony is complete and Tick lets them use his power. So she's tight about male privilege, but because the fact that he's black too, but she won't do anything to help.
I think there must be some patriarchal lineage of the blood, like it does not work for women or something. I don't know, but that could just be like their like thought. They think it doesn't work for women, but it actually does. So whatever.
Shit is probably more powerful. But anyway, yeah. So I agree. And then so she said something as she's helping him put his ring on, the same ring from that painting in the beginning. She says, our destinies are not decided by our fathers. The smallest, most inconsequential thing can take you on your course. See it and seize it. And so I said out loud, like, is this bitch telling him to ruin the ceremony? Like, what are you saying? Like, be clear.
Sabotage this shit.
Yeah. Bitch, if you want to help me, then motherfucking give me the blueprint. Don't hope
we
that I get
talking,
the hint.
You might as well tell me what you think.
Right. Because knowing me, I'll fuck it up. And then what? Then we just both mad. So I'm just, and I literally wrote, like, I'm tired of her. So then, let's just talk about Journey Smollett for a second. So she goes in this bathroom, realizing that she was dead and dying, and now she's healed. And the way that this bitch is an actress from head to toe, she comes in that room and I'm just like, she made me remember, if I died and came back, I would not be doing the robot. I would be like, what the fuck is happening right now? She's screaming to that towel. I was like, why would I ever want to see a white actress in my life again?
Right. Never. It's like she really ate that out.
Girl, and I just want to talk, like, Journey deserves her own shrine because she's everything, and we really take her for granted. Like, she doesn't lean on her colorism at all. Like, she's just a great actress, and she's gorgeous, and you can't be mad because she's also gorgeous. Like, she just happens to be gorgeous in any shade. Anyway, so then we go into, while she's in there, that gives Uncle George and Montrose the time to talk. So, do you want to cover that?
Nope.
Read the notes, please.
LOL. So, okay.
He's laying there dying, and he's like, go through that window.
Yeah, because I wasn't caught up. I wasn't
right
following.
where he says so it says Uncle George wants him to leave him, and so Montrose is like, something about D. He mentions like
Dora.
Yeah, he mentions Dora. He said Letitia reminds him of Dora, of D, of his wife.
Right.
Yeah.
So it seems like there was some, like, they had tried to get into this journey before. Like, Dora was always bringing up my ancestry. Like, I got to figure this out. I'm going to take this trip. I'm going to do this. It seemed like this has come up in the past, and they were like, let's leave it where it is. It seems like it's going to be a bad, like, wormhole to jump into.
Yeah, I also want to speak on the role of women being themselves, and how, as much as we talk about patriarchy, like, Black men, and as much as it hurts Black women in the long term, Black men have let Black women be independent. Like, maybe not as their individual wives, but like, they really are giving Letitia space to be herself. They let her cuss at them. Like, they're just like, look, we riding with her. And so I just really appreciate.
They wasn't gonna let her drive, but they said this.
Yeah, right. And then when she drove, I bet you that nigga didn't say shit. Nowhere. It wasn't a problem after that because I think she was driving on the way out. Like she was already driving when they were leaving. Yeah. So that's my point. So they get into this brotherly scene where Uncle George is reminding Montrose of how he used to draw. Like, so you can tell he thinks he's dying because he's going into childhood. Yeah. And he's like, you were basically saying you were the sweetest little boy. And Montrose is like, nigga, daddy used to beat the fuck out of me, so I'm not sweet anymore. And then basically he gets into, well, you need to do better. You're a father. And then he goes, well, I can father my kid however I want to. And he says, well, that kid might not be yours.
Right.
And Montrose says, he gets up close and says, nigga, shut the fuck up about my business. Like, he's like, we not going to talk about that again. So he clearly knows it and doesn't give a fuck. He wants to live in this reality. And it is interesting to take.
This is my brother's child, but I am parenting him because I was the last one to intimately be with the mother.
But then also to like be mad at Tick and not speak to him for 5 years is like, but it's also his right because Tick thinks that's his father. So like, I don't even think I have a feeling, we don't know for sure, but I have a feeling they grew up in the same house because Tick talks about getting beat by his dad. And so it's like,
Who grew up in the same house?
Tick and Montrose. Like Montrose raised him in the house, I think. But then
that he got beat up with.
Yeah, I think that I remember from episode 1 that because when they were outside, when Letty was arguing with her brother and Uncle George and Tick were outside, he was like, why you didn't protect me from my father? Yeah. So I think that Montrose raised Tick and he was just really close with Uncle George at the same time. And then they fought when he got drafted, probably at 18. And so then he didn't talk to him for 5 years. And so if this is the 50s, like the war was over. This is exactly what happened. He got drafted in the middle of the war. He went through the war. Then he came out and then they didn't talk. So now it's like kind of years after the war and like it's just weird because Tick didn't recognize that what he did to leave would make him never talk to his dad again. So anyway, the whole thing Uncle George is saying is like, he needs your love. You have to love him. You have to be there because I'm not.
And I might die.
Yeah. So he says, I wrote it down. He says, I don't care if you got a bullet in your gut. Shut your fucking mouth. And I was like, wow. I love it.
Michael, that was giving me Michael K in any century.
Yeah. Oh, Michael snaps to the kids. So then we get into the actual ceremony. And this is when the title of the episode becomes apparent because we hear Whitey on the Moon. Yes. And so I'm gonna real quick before I get into. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna read it quick because the rest of it goes by fast. So Whitey on the Moon by Gil Scott Heron. A rat done bit my sister Nell with Whitey on the moon. Her face and arms begin to swell, and Whitey's on the moon. I can't pay no doctor bills, but Whitey's on the moon. 10 years from now, I'll be paying still while Whitey's on the moon. You know the man just upped my rent last night because Whitey's on the moon. No hot water, no toilets, no lights, but Whitey's on the moon. I wonder why he's upping me because Whitey's on the moon. Well, I was already giving him $50 a week, and now Whitey's on the moon. Taxes taking my whole damn check. The junkies make me a nervous wreck. The price of food is going up. And if all that crap wasn't enough, a rat done bit my sister Nell with Whitey on the moon. With all that money I made last year for Whitey on the moon, how come I ain't got no money here? Whitey's on the moon. You know, I just about had my fill of Whitey on the moon. I think I'll send this doctor's bill, airmail special, to Whitey on the moon. This shit should not be that relevant today. It should not be that relevant.
Listen, it's like, are we the greatest country in the world, or do we have like millions of people in poverty? Like,
yes.
Like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? I'm answering your questions. I'm like, no, yes, and what the fuck?
Right.
So the ceremony happens, and this shit is getting biblical. So basically, like, there's these orbs of light, and Fitz is there. He's chanting in Adam's language, and which also reminds me that like English is not the only language. Like I don't know why I need to say that, but like we just really got to talk about how like
in the U.S. it's very interesting. This is the story that we do not hear enough.
So he has these orbs of thing, and then he starts sparking them, and he's doing his chanting. And then it's like this, I call it thunder and power ceremony. And we start seeing his energy or his soul or his spirit or whatever come out of it. It's colorful like Love Jones has on her screen, and it seems very painful because he's screaming. And it seems like it's taking his power, but we start to see this portal open up. It has symbols on it. The symbols light up. It's made of wood. We see the growth of a garden. Like, and I'm like, oh, maybe he's about to go back to Eden. And Eden is where there's immortal life. So the ring on his finger starts to give off black smoke. And I'm wondering, like, is it going to take over him? Like, is it going to take his soul? Is it going to make him dark and evil? Like, what is it going to do? So he looks up. Who do he see? Who's that looking through his window? It is Helen, his pregnant ancestor. And I said, oh, and she said, I'm here now. Oh, so the wind started blowing. Still
here. I'm just.
I hate you. Okay, so the house starts shaking. And then Letitia and them are in the room, and they're like, oh shit, like, we got to move Uncle George. And Montrose is like, but if we move him, he might bleed out. But then the floors are fracturing. They're like, they got to go. So when Tick sees his ancestor, he starts fighting back. And I think that Christina's words are in his head too, like, take your chance. So I don't know what he did with his body or how he figured it out, but he starts to fight back and starts to push that energy back out. And she's sitting there just like, yep. Like, kind of like,
that's what you gotta do.
Kind of like that gif of Snoop Dogg when he's dressed up in like old, and he's like, yes. Yeah. So he starts doing that. He lets his power out. Sis, he turns everyone in the room to stone.
Oh, I don't got that picture, but yeah.
Yes, no, he turns.
So that's so interesting because it's like, okay, so what's next?
Right, it's like
turn them to stone. So what's next?
I bet you the wizard now. So, but then we start to the ceiling's about to cave in, and we're like, bitch, you gotta go. So he starts running, and Helen is lighting the path for him. So Helen is showing how. Right. So Helen is showing how she lit the house on fire that first time when Titus's house burned down, and how she's the only one who escaped that Malfoy was talking about. And then Tick is like, oh, bitch, I'm about to follow her. So he's running, and the house itself is coming down behind him. And so when he gets outside, he looks behind him, and it hits him like, oh my God, I just killed everybody, including Letitia and Uncle George and my dad. And when he turns around, Letitia's there, and the look of sheer relief he has is like, oh my God, I can't even. Yeah, I know. It's like, I'm just looking through my notes. So I'm like, I just was thinking about like how our ancestors are really there to be venerated. And it's just like she is standing there before that part where he sees Letitia, like she stands in the doorway and she's just like, this is where freedom is. Like, you got to come through. And he runs through and she disappears. We hear Leon Bridges, and that's how you know we're supposed to cry, because he started talking about that motherfucking river. And he's like, I can't believe we made it. And then they hold each other, and then she gives him that look.
She said, yeah.
He gives her that look.
It's not good.
And they go, and she don't even say a word. And they go back to the car, and he sees Uncle George, and Montrose is holding him, crying silently, and Uncle George has lost it. And they just cry. And
I cried too.
I was like, I told you don't let me watch a show if Courtney B. Vance is gonna die. I don't want to see him die. So he yells pop through the window, and I'm like, I don't know if he's talking to Montrose or Uncle George. And I wrote on my notes like, Lord Jesus. So that's it. And then we close with Cinder Man by Nina Simone. And that is that episode.
It was a lot. It ended really sadly. And if this was the end of the movie, it would have been one of those movies where you're like, why the fuck would you end it with a bad ending? Where
you just sit there for a moment, you know, you hit the remote and you just look at each other and go, so you gonna call your Uber, or are we gonna...
Yeah, it's like, damn, at least we beat the what is it? It's not.
Yeah, at least we killed some slave owner. We ended a slave owner lineage. Yeah. I also so let's talk predictions. I wouldn't be surprised if Christina didn't make it out because she knew it was gonna happen.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if she's not in that silver fucking car.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Someone has to make it from the castle.
I wouldn't be surprised if William not riding shotgun, giving her head while she driving. I'm just talking. Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised. My prediction is that Black women are going to end up being the whole point. I have a feeling that like I'm not saying it's going to get into hoodoo, but I'm saying that like the magic of Helen coming back as an ancestor is going to talk about like the lineage of Black women. Because in some of the previews for the season, I see some images where I'm like, this is giving me Black girl magic. So I'm just not sure where it's going to go, but I want to make my prediction known to the world that it will be about Black women being magic. What about you though? What do you think at this point?
Well, one thing I was thinking is I wonder, because they said that this happened once before. Mm-hmm. Was it that they tried to use the ancestor, what's her name again? Helen. Did they try to put her in the ceremony? Or
maybe because she was
the
pregnant?
Same exact thing happened. So I'm like, one, did they try to put her in the ceremony and she knew how to get out the castle because she's the staff? She knows the back routes and she's like, I gotta run. Things are going awry and she sees everyone turns to stone. Or did they try to use someone else in the ceremony? Like, I'm just trying to, like, it seems like it had to be her because they don't mention anybody else.
That's a great
point.
I
don't know if that's going to come up. I mean, obviously Montrose is going to, and then my second thought is, did they try to use Tick's mother in another ceremony? Because how does she die? I'm trying to figure out how she died. Was she?
You're getting into some ideas that the Braithwaites have been here the whole time. Like this isn't like
they've been watching
gone for years.
Since birth.
Oh, interesting. Okay, why did I just find a thing about autumnal equinox, which is when the first fire happened in 1833, and it says that this is a time when through mythology because it's the first day of fall, and in old mythology and legends they would burn beasts, like they would like create beasts like sculptures and then burn them so they can be on fire. So I think that's interesting that like fire is a part of the autumnal equinox. Yeah, for sure. I think that's as deep because it's like you don't bring up no specific ass detail like that and you don't mean it. So yeah, there's that. I think I would love to find out that this shit goes deep, like that they've always like the Braithwaites have never not been a part of it. I want to go back and figure out what exactly the letter said what was said in the letter, because it seems like it was facts, but it was still false promoting because they were like, you want to find out your birthright, but their birthright is gone now. You just.
But do you still think that the father sent the letter, or do you think that the Braithwaites wrote it?
Oh, I think that he clarified that he wrote it under duress.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do think so. But I think that they told him what to write for sure. I definitely don't think he was like, oh, I have an. I think that has to be answered for us. I don't think it's possible for us to know until Montrose does his little monologue, like how he even got involved. Because either he's known forever, or like you said, how would William convince him to get in that car?
Right.
Also, will him and Letitia, like, Letitia don't know that Tick don't know that they got it on.
Right. So that's in her imagination.
Right. So will
but
it happen?
It's probably a prediction. I mean, the show background predicts that.
Is them together, yeah. Well,
looking good anyway.
And will Montrose tell him about his real father?
Who's really the dad, and what more details about the mother. So, to be continued.
Dope. Well, you want to close this out?
Well, I don't have that.
This was fun. This was great.
I love it. I love this show. I'm really looking forward to
3.
So we're about to watch episode 3. It's already out. So we really wanted to push that off and like make sure that we get episode 1 and 2 out before we jump into 3, because we would give ourselves away. Like we would kind of reference things ahead of time. So
this is dope.
We're about to get into it. But thank you for listening to us recap HBO's Lovecraft Country. Don't forget to let the Black women know, and we're going to say this every show, let the Black women in your life know that they are witty, cultured, and worth your while. Oh, and don't forget to read a book.
Period. Thank you.
Word.
Spesh.